Shwmae pawb, Huw Davies ydw I, a dwi'n gweithio fel Arweinydd Cynradd yn e-sgol. My name's Huw Davies and I'm the primary leader at e-sgol. And today I'm joined by Rhian Booth and Melissa Broughton, better known as Rhi and Mel, or usually I go for Mel and Rhi, but you're sitting in the wrong order today. Yeah. Never mind. But you are both Sparklab, one half each, obviously. And we've been working together here at Ysgol Gwyddoniaeth on a science project, as we very simply called it here with e-sgol. But it wouldn't have been half the project without the two of you. So we're here today to talk a bit about the project. Well, no, I'm glad you agreed. So before we jump in and talk about the project itself, would you mind giving us a bit of background about yourselves? Possibly, we won't start all the way back.
That's fine. I've got all day. That's okay.
But from an educational standpoint, maybe from sort of university onwards, would you mind just telling us a bit about yourselves?
Yeah, no problem. So my name's Rhi, and I went to Cardiff University, studied my Masters in Chemistry there. Did my year in industry in my third year and went to work for Cadbury's, which was fantastic. Went back there after graduating then actually, and really interestingly, I didn't realise I had such good taste buds, but they assess you when you start work there, and I worked in the lab but also worked in the sensory area, testing chocolates, testing components that go into chocolate. So that was really interesting, using my chemistry in a different way to how I expected to use it. And then got an opportunity to go to Italy. So when you think chocolate is really good and you move on to wine, you realise actually that is quite a bit better. Did wine tasting using my chemistry knowledge again, and worked a little bit alongside a sommelier who would travel around, taste wines, go to little vineyards. Did a bit of that, and I was with him almost as his English teacher / science vocab terminology provider. And so I did that. There are some bottles actually in northern Italy with my descriptors on, saying that this tastes a bit floral, or this tastes a bit peachy notes, or whatever. Brilliant. If there's brilliant on it, that would be me. I love the word brilliant. Anyway, whilst I was there, I did teach some English and realised that I thought I could teach English because I can speak English, and that wasn't the case. I was okay, but I thought, why don't I teach something that I'm actually good at? So bringing me back to my science background. And so I decided to do my teacher training. I had the interview actually when I was in Italy. I had it via Zoom. So that was interesting. Got a placement then to do teacher training in Cardiff. And and then I did my teacher training there and qualified. Then I went to work in an English school, first of all, in Newport. And that was really good. And then I thought, well, I can speak Welsh. I want to use my Welsh language here. So I got a job in a Welsh school in Llangynnwyd in Bridgend. And finally ended up then in Broeden in Cardiff, and worked my way up to head of chemistry. So that was my last job as a teacher, before what I won't mention what we do next. But that was
before
my
the
last
next adventure.
Yeah.
Chocolate and wine.
I don't know why I quit, to be honest. But teaching was obviously that grab that I needed.
Obviously, you're passionate about it. If you can give up chocolate and wine to go into teaching, then obviously you're interested in teaching, aren't you?
Exactly.
She definitely hasn't given up chocolate and wine. Can I just throw that up?
I didn't need to go to the gym as often then once I quit those jobs.
That makes sense as well.
Yeah.
How about yourself, Mel?
Okay, so slightly differently, but I did go to Cardiff University and do my Masters in Chemistry. That's where Rhi and I met, actually. We've been friends since that point. Unlike Rhi, though, I didn't do a year in industry for my third year. I kind of always knew that industry wasn't my calling. I wasn't an organic chemist and in the labs and things like that. I preferred all the mathematical side of things, and I just couldn't see myself ever working in a lab. I did toy with the idea of becoming a patent attorney for about all of 5 minutes, only because I had the idea of I really wanted to be a teacher. I've always wanted to be a teacher. And I thought to myself, can I, after spending this long myself in education, then just go straight away and do my teacher training and go straight back into education. But the answer was yes, I didn't really want to do anything else. So after graduating from Cardiff University, I actually applied to Oxford University to do my PGCE, mainly because my sister had gone to Oxford University for her undergrad, and I hadn't wanted to apply. I wanted to do something different. I love my sister to pieces, but I was like, I want something for me. I want
forge your own path.
Exactly. Even though our subjects were completely different, I just kind of, and I'm glad because obviously Cardiff University, so Rhi and I met, so, you know, gained a best friend out of it. So thanks for that.
And a husband.
And a husband, yeah. Not you.
It's always lovely for the husband to be the afterthought.
I know. Sorry about that. Sorry. So yeah. But I just kind of wanted to see. I just wanted to try. So yeah, applied to Oxford to do my PGC. Also lots of science jobs in the area. So I actually went with a group of friends. There's about 4 of us who decided, right, we're headed to Oxford after graduation. And yeah, got accepted. And it was great. The plan was go to Oxford for 1 year. That was the plan. Do my teacher training, come back to Wales, come home. But ended up staying there for 8 years because it just was a really, really nice place to work. I actually got a job at my first training school. And, you know, I was afforded so many opportunities that maybe I wouldn't have had otherwise. So absolutely do not regret staying at all. Made some lovely friends there. But ultimately, I had quite young twins, and before they were starting school, I kind of wanted to, then was the time to come home. So yeah, I basically said that we were going, it was time to move, and we did actually put our house on the market, and it sold within a week, and we hadn't even found anywhere in Cardiff to move to yet. We were just like, right, we're going back. And I actually had a year off teaching because I just wanted to make sure that I was, you know, that we were doing the right thing, and it was right. Your priorities kind of shift when you have really young children. But yeah, I knew that I wanted to continue teaching. So I ended up at a school in Cardiff part-time after my children had started full-time education. And yeah, loved it. I loved that it was a big school, could still teach A-level, GCSE classes, was second in chemistry for a little while there as well, after being head of chemistry at my previous school. So I think, you know, the pair of us, we both worked our way up in
different areas.
And yeah, hopefully all that experience has brought us to where we are today. So
yeah, which leads us to this point. Sparklab, obviously. I've not actually asked you how long that's been going, but maybe that's a good point to start. If you could just tell us a bit about Sparklab itself.
So we decided we'd always had these conversations about doing something within education, but that gives us a bit more flexibility, and maybe that we could reach more children, actually, not just our own schools, our own classes. So yeah, we had the idea and we spoke about it, you know, here and there, and it was only in 2020 in January that we decided, you know what, we're going to do this. We're going to hand in our notices, not knowing what was to come in March, but never mind, we won't mention that. We're asked if we want our jobs back, you know, is this something we wanted to do, because obviously pandemic and it was difficult in terms of jobs and security. But yeah, that's when we handed our notices in, and it was in September 2020 then that we got our first class, our first Sparklab toddler class, wasn't it? So
the idea for Sparklab originally, when we decided, we'd been having, like we said, had discussions beforehand, and when we decided, our starting point was toddler science classes. We wanted to do something really different from what our day job had been previously. We knew Sparklab would grow, we just didn't know in what direction it would go. So the plan was, right, we'll start with these toddler classes and see where we go from there. So the first week in that first September of 2020, we had 1 toddler class. By the second week of September, we had 2, 3, 4. By the end of September, we built it up to 5 or 6 different classes across all of Cardiff. The demand, like, we'd done a little bit of market research before starting, obviously, because nobody starts a business without doing that. That would have been ludicrous. Just a little bit of market research. We had the idea and we ran with it, and there was no stopping us, basically. And then it kind of just all kind of blew up from there. When everything shut down, we obviously had to put those classes on the back burner then come, you know, the beginning of 2021. We did a lot of online tuition for a while as part of Sparklab, because obviously we have all of that A-level experience, all of that GCSE, and everybody,
a huge demand for it, wasn't there?
Massive demand. So we did that for a while, and then funnily enough, it's quite tricky to take toddler science classes online, so we put a pause on those. You know, we did do one actually, which was quite fun, but yeah, put a pause on those, knowing that we would start them back up again. But then also we'd started to get other requests. We had requests from primary schools about us coming in to do workshops. We had requests from
other businesses, to go into there and do some kind of collaboration with them.
Yeah, and then it kind of snowballed, and right now Sparklab is like it's grown to something like still just the two of us. But we've done like big business collaborations. We work with industries to write their development for outreach development rather, to go into schools and teach about their business. We've done a lot of work with TechniQuest, writing their shows. We've done secondary schools, we've done primary schools, we've done festivals, we've done Tavoil.
Yeah, I think actually this is what we hadn't realised until we'd set up and started going with the classes, how important it was, or how key it was to have a teaching background, because we couldn't have done this without all of our education teaching background, because so many things that we've developed we could do because we were teachers, and we are still teachers, and that's always at the back of our minds when we're planning anything. We're thinking about the learners and the
audience
that comes across, that's
and
why I think
who's going to be engaging with the activity that you're producing, and is it at the right level, is it pitched at the right level for them, which I think is why we had a collaboration with Cardiff University as well in the beginning, and it was about making sure that their outreach was pitched correctly for the classes that they were going into, because that is a big part of, if you're going into schools, you have to make sure that your audience can be engaged, and that's where our teaching background has really come in handy. So
you wouldn't possibly have thought that your skills as teachers, or maybe when you were starting Sparklab, that you would be working at festivals, for example?
Absolutely not. But we've loved it.
Like, I think having that education. I mean, I'm still working on Mel to get a bus.
Honestly,
it's taken me a while.
Science bus
I want the science bus, an educational science bus. I feel like the festival has obviously brought this out. But I could see it traveling around.
I can also see it.
I'll
Don't
be the
think
driver.
I'm reverse. On what you said about my driving.
A big Sparklab logo on the side.
Exactly.
If I get sent one more bus through, I'm like, what do you think of this one? All right, okay, love it. No, but it is.
I honestly, I'm always there looking at the buses.
But no, it's great. It is a really good idea, because again, it all leads back to the thing that the reason why we set up this business in the first place is that reach. It's the hoping to reach as many young people, and actually not just young people. We have had so many requests for adult classes, which I know sounds possibly ridiculous, but it's not.
And the care homes, residential homes, that's an area that we would,
because with our toddler classes, we will, they will always hold a special place in our heart, because what they did initially, so many mums that were coming were primary school teachers, and they'd be like, oh, this would be great for schools. And so that was the first point of it. We haven't had to advertise anywhere near as much as we thought we would in our 5-year business, because people will just come along and go, oh, this would be great for that, and word of mouth is really,
and there's nothing like it in there are other science businesses, but I think, again, coming back to the educational side, the people who do those classes maybe don't have the education background, and so it's that bridging between schools and industries, or whatever it might be. That skill set comes in from being teachers. So I think it's opened more doors for us.
And also as well, I was thinking with the toddler classes, we've had grandparents come and they absolutely love it. They'd be like, oh, we learned so much today, this is great, I wish science was like this when we were in Scotland. And that's what that's always been our mission, is to spark something, hence the name Sparklab. That was our goal. We want to spark curiosity or excitement in the things that they're learning about, because if they are excited as toddlers, we don't lose them as teenagers. That was always that thing that we wanted. Science is so important to us, and so important, we think, to everybody. It's such a key thing, and we've had 2-year-olds starting our science classes, and now they're in school, and we get messages from the parents saying they're still loving, and they bring them back to our holiday classes and things like that. And when you see how much they've grown, but yet still see how much they love it, that tells it all about why we
it's quite scary how many years have passed since we set it up. When you see them as one that was 18 months when she first joined, and we're continuing, we're doing her parties, she comes to standalone sessions, seeing how she's grown and how she loves science and is passing that.
Scary but exciting.
It's very exciting, but scary from how we're aging kind of way.
Young at heart.
Yes, definitely.
We won't mention any special birthdays that may or may have passed this week.
No special
anyway,
birthdays.
Your point about reach, Mel, that leads us back nicely to this project that we've been collaborating on, the e-sgol Sparklab project, as we aptly called the science project.
Yeah.
Did you ever envisage maybe, the journey started, didn't it? Rhian, you happened to pop your head into the ysgol tent at the Eisteddfod, National Eisteddfod, and we just happened to get chatting about an idea that we'd had regarding a possible walk through science inquiry for 4 or 5 weeks. Did you ever think that when we had those initial discussions that the project would turn out as it has? I'm quite curious from my point of view, is it what you thought it would be?
Well, I mean, we from what you described, it sounded brilliant. But I think it's been so much more than that in many ways, hasn't it? It's been fantastic, and the reach has probably been bigger than we thought.
The most overwhelming point. So we obviously, this is very out of our comfort zone. We are face to face. We go in, we do workshops, and you have that instant. We know whether this is working or not. We know that whether, and I think that might have been my one worry going in initially, is because we've never done anything like this. You don't know how it's going to be received. We knew what we wanted to do. We had a really solid plan. Was it going to come across well? How was it going to come across to the students that were completing it? And I think that first week, the most nerve-wracking of weeks, I think.
Slept well that evening.
Definitely. Just because of the unknown. That's all it was. But like Rhi says, no, it was more than it has been so much more than we ever expected it to be, in the best possible way. The amount of schools that we've seen, the work that's been produced, the sheer volume of students that have taken part, and along with us, it's been amazing.
I'm just thinking of schools that are local to us who have mentioned to us. Obviously, there's all across Wales. However, we went into a school and did a workshop there, and they'd the day before had been part of this science investigation with us online, and it was almost as if, this is who we've been doing the science investigations with. They were so excited to know their work, what they've been doing in class, and that has obviously come across on social media, all the posts, all the messages. It's been overwhelming, hasn't it? But I mean, it shows that you had a great idea, and hopefully we've been able to push that out there in the way that you envisaged as well.
Absolutely, it's been an incredibly positive experience from my point of view, from ysgol's point of view. You've clearly got a passion that radiates, and I think it moves through the camera and into the classroom quite
good.
Because you're so natural and capable at bringing science to life. And I think what you were mentioning earlier about the point of Sparklab, it's the nearest thing that a learner is going to get to magic happening in the classroom, isn't it?
That's what we hope.
That's the cheesiest line.
I love it. I'll give you a clap. That's great.
But you're making it happen, aren't you?
It's
been a very positive experience from my perspective anyway. It sounds like it's been a positive one.
We've loved it. We definitely want to do this again if you'll have it.
She's getting in that quick. It's been fantastic. We had a message, a mum, a friend of mine whose son is at a local school. He hasn't always loved science, but she said, you've really inspired him. And it's just that's all you want to do. That's all you want to be able to do.
That's why you do these
exactly things. to show them some excitement, but then show them what you can do with it, where you can go from there.
And you can do science. You don't have to have all the fancy equipment. You can have basic things that are accessible to primary schools, that are, that you have maybe in your homes or in schools. It doesn't have to be expensive. It's easy to do. And as long as you've got that structure that you can follow and the confidence, hopefully that's given lots of teachers lots of confidence to go and do their own science investigations as well as these ones. That would be fantastic.
I think it's important to mention we're here recording this podcast the day before our final session, where hopefully we might be setting some challenges for the teachers that have been taking part to continue on their own personal journey, so that it becomes the most rewarding experience possible for them as well. So that's to be discussed in our planning meeting following this. But other than that, have you had any feedback directly from schools? You did mention something, Rhian, about being recognise.
You know what?
I know
wasn't
she
going to
she's
say.
no she honestly, if I hear one more time about how she was the celebrity in the yard with like all this mumbling
Wow.
of
I want to hear it.
yeah,
Well,
no, fine, I'll sit over
There
here.
might be in a few schools where, you know, I've had to be, you know, had some bodyguards around me. No, it was,
Mobbed, how she described it, I think. No,
yeah, one school overhearing the children going, "Oh, we saw her on the screen doing that experiment with the colour change or whatever it was." That was lovely because
Yeah.
they were also in our workshop, and so that was really nice. And obviously we've had a school involved, Ysgol Bennod involved in helping us with some of these sessions. They are very excited. They've been very excited, showing lots of work through their social media and saying, you know, how much they've enjoyed and actually how much confidence is given those teachers. So, you know, hearing directly from them on the yard has been really worthwhile, really rewarding for us. So yeah.
And just having a little look at I know like social media, there's lots going on that isn't on there, but you know what we've seen, the feedback seems fantastic. The kids just seem to like they've had a great time doing the experiment, but also they've put so much effort into the written work and into the write-ups and all parts of the actual experiment, the investigation that they've been doing. So I think that, you know, what better feedback can you have than wanting to show you the work that they've produced, because, you know, it is.
And across Wales, which is amazing. You know, when we've been looking at where in Wales, it's been all over. It's so lovely to see that it's the breadth of the nation. But
that's a line that's been giving
all across the nation.
Yeah, that's the one that stuck with me when you said that in one of the sessions, Mel. That gave me a that's the word I'm looking
but we
for.
can laugh and we can joke, but it is so important. I think that, you know, it seems to have, you know, had such a good response from so many different schools that we actually have to go, do you know what, this has been great. We have, you know, like you said, reached a number of different students, a number of different schools, and hopefully help them with their science investigation along the way.
We can go and visit those schools as well, can't we? That would be nice.
We'll give you a chance to plug that. Okay. Well, no, thank you very much. I found that as interesting as I thought it would be. I'd like to get a bit more detail about Oxford and about the chocolate, but yeah.
And the wine, don't forget the wine.
Absolutely, yeah. But yeah, I think we better get cracking with our planning session.
Probably plan,
And I've had my chance in front of the camera for this project now, having been behind the scenes. But yeah, thank you very much.
Good job behind the scenes as well. You told us to say.
You make me blush, yeah. The chiefs in the mail. And there we are. Diolch yn fawr iawn. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.